Do you guys ever just come up and approach you?
Nope.
Like,
Pretty rare. It takes courage to just do that, and I
For
think
sure.
that in itself is like that's kind of, you know, I noticed that if a guy were to, it is kind of nice and flattering to have someone come up to you and just say like, hey, like I don't mean to like be weird or like come off strong, but like I think you're beautiful, or just caught my eye, or say something nice, like compliment, like something like that. Smile, complimenting a smile is really nice.
Is it safe to say that you guys want a guy to come up and approach you if it's done properly, if it's done correctly?
Yeah, as long as it's not creepy.
Yeah, that's my hope, but that never happens.
But it doesn't happen. Okay, that's what I always tell guys to come up and go and approach. Guys, are you tired of being rejected by women in public? Maybe you're just tired of overthinking it. Want to know how you can go up to a girl in public and approach her with confidence and without overthinking it or worrying about being rejected. Guys, don't worry, I'm here to help, okay? In this video, I'm gonna reveal the ultimate do's and don'ts and start approaching girls with absolute bulletproof confidence. And guys, it's actually a lot easier than you think, okay? So sit down, buckle up, it's gonna get real interesting. Stop hesitating. You stop overthinking it and finally become that guy that you've always wanted to be. So before we go into the do's and don'ts of cold approach, let's talk about why it's so important to be able to master this skill. Guys, it's literally the foundation. You have apps like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. They're great and all, they're convenient. Sometimes it can be like ordering a pizza, right? Straight to your door. It's convenient, right? That's the bottom line. But having that foundation, the ability to walk up to any girl at any place at any time is so important, because let's say you do have the perfect Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge profile, to actually be able to meet up with that girl and then, for one thing, hold a stimulating conversation to avoid being boring, to have that conversation separate you from, you know, just a friend, right? To make that conversation flirty. You need to have social skills, guys, okay? Even if you have the most optimized Tinder profile in the world, if you actually meet up with that girl, you have to have some level of game or social skills to have her interested in you, right? To carry on a fun and flirty conversation. If you don't have that, the girl is still gonna look at you like a weirdo, even if you have the most professionally done photos. So you have to have these skills, and practicing these skills is so important. On top of that, it's hard. It's hard to authentically meet a girl these days, right? And then it also takes out the worry of playing the guessing game of, oh, okay, am I gonna go meet up with this girl on Tinder and then she's gonna be 40 pounds heavier than her photos, okay? Because sometimes you might meet up with the girl in person who you meet online, and she's completely different than what you had anticipated she's gonna be like. That's why I'm such a fan of cold approaching. And here's the best part about cold approaching girls during the day, okay? Just by going up to a girl, I don't care if you walk up to a girl and say, I farted, right? The fact that you had the balls to go up and approach a girl, that's already gonna put you in a different category, right? Because 99% of guys don't have the balls to go up and cold approach a girl during the day, right? Where there's no liquid confidence. You don't have that kind of night game style where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna drink and then hopefully, finally, maybe I'll get some liquid courage to go up and approach her, right? You're doing it sober, or in a state where you're perceived as being sober, so that is already gonna separate you from the other crop of guys. All right, so let's talk about the do's and don'ts of cold approach, okay? I'm gonna start these off where it's the simplest first and then the more advanced towards the end, okay? These more advanced tactics are gonna separate you even more from the average guy, okay? So you definitely wanna stay tuned for those. So, first and foremost, it's important to be confident, right? You've probably heard that time and time again. All right, if I had $1 for every time I've heard somebody say that, I'd be living in the Bahamas somewhere right now, right? But it's true. But you can fake confidence to a certain extent. You can go walk up to a girl and be nervous as on the inside, right? You're literally like sweating, you know, your Brad Pitts are sweating, you're shaking. But if you walk up and you approach her with confident body language, you approach her, slow down your speech, you lower your voice, you maintain eye contact, shoulders back, chest up, you're standing straight up, hands out of the pockets. Just remember, guys, it's crazy. 80% of communication is nonverbal. So before you even open your mouth, the girl is already gonna judge you in some way, shape, or form. So you wanna be making sure that you're maintaining great positive body language while you're speaking, okay? Again, it's not necessarily about what you say, it's about how you say it, how you're coming across. You want to try to avoid things like fidgeting, looking around, right? Like awkward movements. Just chill, relax. If you're talking to a girl, what you can do to help calm those nerves and appear more confident is just lean up against something, right? Or lean back against a tree or a wall or whatever the case is, right? Because she's gonna mirror your body language. If you're calm, cool, collected, she's gonna do the same thing as well. If you're nervous, fidgety, she's gonna return that same energy, right? So oftentimes, girls are a mirror of that. Now guys, I'm gonna be going into what not to do here in a minute, so you're definitely gonna wanna stay tuned for that, because a lot of guys go up, they say these things and they completely shit the bed, and then they're never able to recover the conversation. So stay tuned. Secondly guys, you wanna make sure you're approaching a girl in a respectful manner, okay? For the love of God, do not catcall a girl, okay? I can't believe that guys are still doing this. In what world do guys think that hanging their head out the window like a friggin' puppy dog, whistling at a girl, is just gonna get her to sprint right up there, soaked and wet for the guy, right? Like, oh God, it's cringe. So, when you walk up to her, you wanna say, excuse me, right? Get her attention before you just start rattling off, okay? It's so important to get her attention because you wanna make sure that she's present, she's receptive, and then speak, right? Because if you just rattle off, even if you have the most creative opener, she's not gonna completely take that in. She's gonna be kind of thrown off. What? Sorry, what did you say? Right? Because she's in her own world. So it's like stop her, get her attention, and then speak. Jim Carrey, the GOAT. I still think he's the funniest guy alive, right? His timing is impeccable because you could take some of his jokes, and if you were to deliver them, you might not have the same effect because comedy is timing. So timing is incredibly important with these openers, with what you say to a girl. So personally, I like to walk up to a girl and say, excuse me, and pause before. That way I know I have her complete and undivided attention. And then I can say what I'm gonna say next. Make sure you're actually listening to what she's saying, okay? I get it, guys, you're nervous. Sometimes you might speak fast or speak over her, right? But it's so beneficial to ask more open-ended questions. Just sit back and really listen to what she's saying because it's gonna be beneficial later on in that conversation to bring up things that she likes or things that she is interested, because ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to build rapport, right? You're trying to find some commonality. That's one great way to establish interest, is to see what you guys are both interested in doing. That's going to be beneficial. All right, fellas, here we go. Make sure to pay really close attention to this. These are the don'ts of cold approaching women. And guys, I could make a 3-hour video on this, but I'm going to go over the most common ones. Make sure you subscribe because I'm going to make a video going more in depth about the don'ts in the future, okay? All right, so do not approach a girl from behind, okay? That's a great way to make her shit herself, okay? And if she shits herself, it's going to be very hard to keep that conversation going, right? You're going to be in recovery mode from that point on, and you do not want to get into recovery mode, all right? Don't approach a girl from behind. There is no good that can come from that. You don't want to startle her, right? You don't want to put her on the defense. So I talked earlier about getting a girl's attention first, right? Before you even speak to her. This is probably the #1 mistake I see a lot of my students and a lot of guys making in general, is they don't get the girl's attention before rattling off and spouting out what they're going to say. Again, you could have the most cleverly planned opener or pickup line, but if you just spout it out without the girl's, hold on, what? Like she's not completely taking it in, right? So get her attention first. Make sure you have her complete and undivided attention before you speak, right? That means she's not like, texting while you're saying, excuse me, hi, can you hear me? Right? Get her attention first, then say what you're gonna say. Make sure you're speaking loud enough for the girl to hear you, okay? A lot of times guys will go up and approach girls and they'll either speak too loud, right, at a park, or they'll speak too quietly and the girl's like, wait, what did you say? And guys, don't be afraid to mix it up, right? If you start talking about her dog and you're asking 16 questions about her dog, say what comes to your mind, right? You don't have to just stick with that one topic because that will get boring. Guys, and if you're bored with the conversation, so will she. I talked earlier about how girls will mirror your behavior, right? So if you're just bored of the conversation, she's gonna be like, how long is this guy gonna be here, right? We're talking about the same thing, and it's your job to lead that conversation. So you can talk about 16 different topics. That's actually more beneficial than just to talk about, the weather for half an hour, right? And fellas, just avoid being too pushy, okay? You can have the perfect approach, but sometimes the girl's just not gonna be interested in you, okay? I don't care if you're 500 pounds and bedridden or Drake. There's no guy that can get every girl. So just cut your losses, move on. There's 3.5 billion girls. You're not gonna negotiate her desire in you, right? So move on. All right, so here's how you can master the art of the follow-up. So now that you know the do's and don'ts of cold approach, let's talk about how to close. So there's two ways that you should look at closing, right? One is closing right there on the spot and moving the interaction forward, right? So you could actually take the girl and go on an instant date. I've done this multiple times. That is if you're not busy in the moment or she's not busy. You could even throw in a false time constraint and say, you know what, I only have 30 minutes. I have to meet up with my friend now, but I actually have some time to kill. You seem pretty cool. You don't seem crazy, so let's go check it out together, right? But if you are in a hurry, if you do have to leave or she has to leave, you want to grab her number, right? You want to close. It will help if you have a reason to kind of grab her number, right? If you say, hey, listen, I got to run now. I'm going to go meet up with my friend, but, since you said you like coffee, you like Starbucks, right? I know this really cool cafe we could go to. I'll grab your number and we'll go on Wednesday, or we'll go sometime this week. What I like to do is I like to tell her I'm gonna get her number, right? I don't wanna come off, can I get your number, right? I already assume that she's gonna give it to me, and this shows an incredible amount of confidence. I don't know, that's just my preference. I like to already think that I've got her number, right? I've got it in the bag. You can't go wrong with that. Get her number or Insta date. Those are the two things that you want to be worried about when it comes to closing. Boom! It's off to the races now, fellas, okay? You've gotten her number, and when you text her, you want to follow up with something unique or funny that happened in the interaction, okay? And then you want to be moving that interaction towards meeting up with her on the date. Because guys, the more time that you wait without actually getting her on that date, the less likely it is that you're actually going to get her on that date, okay? Just remember, this is only a tool used to get her on the date and move the interaction forward. That is it, okay? Now, unfortunately, a lot of guys will go on the date and then the girl will ghost them or she'll lose interest in the guy. That's because guys are making a lot of mistakes on dates, okay? I'm gonna fix that. This is how you can have a successful first date and stop getting the girl ghosting you.